Howdy everybody, happy Friday. It is October 27th. If you guys are going to be doing Halloween activities this weekend, I am dressing as Bernie Sanders, so nobody steal my costume. Thank you very much. By popular demand, I have taken the microwave off of my stove behind me. I heard your concerns, so the microwave has been taken off, and now I will be only using the microwave away from a stove. A lot going on in the news. If you haven't seen my videos on an environmental calamity happening in Massachusetts that's getting no coverage, you can check that out on the channel. I have another video on North Carolina water contamination that I did a follow-up on. What do you know? A chemical corporate polluter dumps cancer-causing chemicals in a water body serving 500,000 people for years. They get to keep their permits, no problem. Emma and Nomiki are live today and tomorrow from the Women's March Convention. If you remember, there was that big Women's March in Washington on Inauguration Day. Now the Women's March has taken that and they're doing an actual conference or convention. So it's in Detroit. Emma and Nomiki are there covering that. They'll be live on Facebook. They'll be live on YouTube and all things. But while I was in St. Louis covering the protest there were articles that came out that I didn't really have time to respond to because I was there covering the protest, but I think are really, really telling, shall we say. Really, really telling of just, I don't know if it's sheer stupidity of the Democratic Party or just sheer greed that they would rather lose while keeping the money flowing than win the right way, representing us. But as President Trump, who I don't cover that much because, I mean, he's being covered 24/7 by everybody, wall to wall, nothing else gets covered. As Trump pretty much stacks the economy like the 1920s, has surrounded himself with Wall Street executives, surrounded himself with big oil executives, climate change deniers. As Trump peels back regulations on banks, as Trump creates laws that favor banks and corporations and the rich, his tax plan, which is Reagan and Bush's tax plan on steroids. As Trump does all this, instead of actually fighting back with progressive policies, the Democratic Party is coming out with New York Times op-eds with the title, Why Democrats Need Wall Street. No, right here. Hold on. Let me flip that around. Why Democrats Need Wall Street by Doug Schoen, who is a big Democrat pollster that's on Fox News all the time. That's what we're getting here. Why Democrats Need Wall Street. Another headline I'd like to show you, which shows the state of the Democratic Party. Why Medicare for All will sink the Democrats. What does that even mean, sink the Democrats? How much lower can they go? Sink the Democrats. Get the hell out of here. So, people I think get confused because Hillbots and neoliberals criticize me, Jimmy Dore, Kyle Kulinski, Lee Camp, independent media with, oh, you need to unify, you're helping to elect Trump. No. The reason we are criticizing the Democratic Party, is because we want to defeat extreme conservatism. We want to defeat Trump and Bush and Romney and Ted Cruz and all these people. But why? What is the point of defeating them if you're putting in a slightly less corrupt extreme person in Democratic clothing? That's the whole point. You want to defeat radical republicanism. We want to defeat radical neoliberalism, which has done just as much harm around the country and world, frankly. So as Trump peels back regulations, Pence was the tie-breaking vote this week that is basically taking away rules. Basically, it's allowing banks to be immune and restricts consumers from suing banks directly. So you have Mike Pence, Donald Trump basically protecting banks so that people can't sue them. You have Donald Trump, Mike Pence, Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell trying to push through tax cuts on steroids for the rich. So a sane, smart, ethical Democratic Party would be saying, no, you know what? We're gonna show you a contrast to that. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna say, no, we need to break up the big banks. Instead of creating rules that allows them not to be sued directly by consumers for all the fraud that they keep doing to this day, we want to break them up. Give voters a contrast, a stark contrast. When Donald Trump tries to push mega tax cuts for the rich and corporate America, you know what the Democrats should say? We need a wealth tax of 5% on anybody that makes more than $1 million, in addition to them being charged at the top rate. Where is the progressive contrast? That's not only ethical and right, it's smart politics. If Donald Trump showed you anything to the Democratic Party, people are looking to blow the system up because they are now awake to the corruption of the Democratic Party. They think the Republican Party isn't corrupt because they buy into this culture war garbage and religion and all that. And by the way, a lot of people that voted for Trump didn't vote for him because he was a Republican. They just liked what he was saying. He was actually attacking the Republican Party too, a lot on the campaign trail that I covered. So you have, I mean, it's like dumbfounding to me, the stupidity. Why Democrats need Wall Street. Let me tell you a little bit about this. Doug Schoen, pretty big Democratic pollster, Fox News Democrat, has ran in Hillary circles, Bill circles. Let's see his bio. Doug Schoen was a pollster and senior political advisor to President Bill Clinton from 1994 to 2000. This is the brainiac who just put a headline up 2 weeks ago, Why Democrats Need Wall Street. You ready for his wisdom, folks? Many of the most prominent voices of the Democratic Party, led by Bernie Sanders, are advocating wealth redistribution through higher taxes and Medicare for all, and demonizing banks and Wall Street. You know where this is going, right? Memories in politics are short, but those policies are vastly different from the program of the party's traditional center-left coalition. Under Bill Clinton, that coalition balanced the budget, acknowledged the limits of government, and protected the essential programs that make up the social safety net. Well, first of all, Bill Clinton didn't run as a centrist. Bill Clinton in 1992 ran as a progressive, and that he was going to restore the middle class from Reaganism and Bushism. So people voted for Bill Clinton thinking they were getting progressive change, just like they voted for Barack Obama thinking they were getting progressive change. They reelected Bill Clinton not because of his center-left politics, but because the economy was booming. The economy wasn't booming because of Bill Clinton. The economy was booming because Bill Clinton was very fortunate to become president when the tech industry exploded. That's the real story. Bill Clinton did some good things too. He didn't get us into war. He raised taxes on the wealthy, and he did some horrible things too, like letting Glass-Steagall be repealed, like the telecom regulation, which basically created the terrible corporate media we have right now, like welfare reform, which took off millions of single mothers off the rolls, like the crime bill, which disproportionately put more African Americans in jail than any other president has in American history. So this Democrat is saying, oh, under the party's traditional center-left coalition. No, the Democratic Party traditionally was left. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, ring a bell? Created the New Deal, got us out of the Great Depression. So he goes on to say, President Clinton did this in part by moving the party away from a reflexive anti-Wall Street posture. It's not popular to say so today, but there are still compelling reasons Democrats should strengthen ties to Wall Street. Oh my God. Oh my God, this is what we have to go against Trump. As the party has left behind that version of liberalism, it has also found its way to its weakest electoral position, nationally and at the state level, since the 1920s. Hillary Clinton's lurch to the left probably cost her key Midwestern states that Barack Obama had won twice and led to the election of Donald Trump. This guy is either smoking the strongest marijuana or crack known to man, or he is delusional, or he's just a liar. So let me tell you everything that's wrong with that statement. As the party has left behind that version of liberalism, meaning left behind its strong ties to Wall Street. What? Since when did the Democratic Party leave behind its obsession and ongoing fellatio to Wall Street? When did that happen? What? As the party has left behind that version of liberalism, Barack Obama got more money from Wall Street than any presidential candidate at that point in 2008. Barack Obama didn't prosecute one Wall Street banker. Barack Obama did not raise taxes on Wall Street, on corporations. Barack Obama didn't raise the Bush tax cuts. Barack Obama didn't break up the big banks. Barack Obama didn't lay a glove on Wall Street. Are you kidding me? So, according to Doug Schoen, as the party has left behind that version of liberalism, our presidential nominee, Hillary Clinton, was exposed as basically, I want to be a family man here, giving some verbal favors behind closed doors to Wall Street, saying, I have a public position and a private position, and oh guys, I want to work with you, because there was a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of politicization that went around as to you great Americans' role in bringing down the global economy in 2007 and 2008. But we've left behind Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton's policies and proposals weren't going to lay a glove on Wall Street. This is Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party's policy towards Wall Street. Cut it out, guys. I told you to cut it out. But this imbecile, as the party's left behind that version of liberalism. No, the problem is the party is clinging on to that version of liberalism, and it's not liberalism, it's neoliberalism. Let's get that straight. So he's saying because the party left its obsession for Wall Street behind, that's why they have lost so many national and state levels seats. No, they have lost all these national and state level seats because they are obsessed with Wall Street, because they are in bed with Wall Street, because they are not pushing progressive change, because they are just vanilla, and if Republicans are the Budweiser of corruption, Democrats are the Bud Light. Well, what if you're tired of drinking beer? What if you want a healthier lifestyle? Bad analogy, but you get the point. So he says, this is why, because the Democrats have moved away from Wall Street, which is a joke, by the way. That's not true. Not factual at all. That's why they've lost all these seats. After the 2016 election, the Democratic vice presidential nominee, Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia, warned that the party's, quote, broad anti-business rhetoric distracts its leaders from making growth the goal and manages to scare off entrepreneurs and small businesses. Let me tell you something. If I didn't tell you that Tim Kaine said that could have been said by Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell, Mike Pence, or any of these corrupt Republicans. He said, warned that the party's, quote, broad anti-business rhetoric distracts its leaders from making growth. You know, Trump's policies and all these Republican policies, they're about pro-growth, the goal, and manages to scare off entrepreneurs and small businesses too. Translated, manages to scare off the money men and women of America that keep us in office. And that would have been the vice president, by the way, Tim Kaine. Democrats should keep ties with Wall Street for several reasons. The first is an ugly fact of politics: money. Didn't learn a damn thing from 2016. Maintaining ties to Wall Street makes economic sense for Democrats and keeps their coffers full. Well, it might make economic sense for Democrats, but it sure as hell don't make political sense, because Hillary Clinton outspent Donald Trump 2-1. and she got demolished in the Electoral College. In fairness, she won the popular vote by a lot, 3 million votes, so credit where credit is due. If we had a sane system, she would have won the presidency, because I don't believe in the Electoral College. It's ridiculous. But he's saying, oh, if we had more money, we'd win. Well, Barack Obama had more money than, Hillary Clinton had more money than Donald Trump. John Ossoff had as much money as the candidate in Atlanta that beat him. Democrats have had just as much money as Republicans. It's not why they're losing. So, in 2016, the Center for Responsive Politics reports employees and companies in the securities and investment industry donated more than $63 million to the Democratic Party. For the 2020 election, some of the party's strongest potential and presidential candidates, Senators Cory Booker, oy vey, Kirsten Gillibrand, and Kamala Harris, as well as Deval Patrick, the former Massachusetts governor, should not be dismissed simply because of their current or past ties to Wall Street. That's right. These are brave men and women working and representing Wall Street, and we should not dismiss them for only caring about their bankers and sugar daddies on Wall Street. Let me tell you something. Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, Kirsten Gillibrand, if you want real financial reform, if you want real campaign finance reform, if you want real environmental protections, if you want real progressive change, Cory Booker, Kirsten Gillibrand, Kamala Harris ain't gonna happen. If voters really hated ties to Wall Street and financial elites, Republicans would not enjoy such a commanding electoral position or have elected a New York plutocratic president. Most voters' major problems with President Trump stem from his performance, not from his wealth or connections to Wall Street. Oh, they don't get it. They don't get it. First of all, Trump, to his credit, during the primary, the Republican primary, did not use a super PAC. He did not have a super PAC during the Republican primary. Secondly, people voted for Trump not because people decided to vote for Trump not due to or against because he was rich. He had the people in Ohio, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan at I'm repealing NAFTA and I'm bringing your jobs back. And Jeb Bush is a puppet, and they're all puppets, and crooked Hillary. It had nothing. People there cared because he was talking against these trade deals that have sent them all their jobs offshores. So this is BS. Oh, well, if voters really cared about Wall Street, they wouldn't have elected Trump. No, that's not why Trump won. And this guy knows that. He's just writing for his buddies on Wall Street. A second reason Democrats should keep ties with Wall Street, despite what the Democratic left says, America is a center-right, pro-capitalist nation. I don't know what world this guy's living in now. A January Gallup poll found that moderates and conservatives make up almost 70% of the country, while only 25% of voters identify as liberal. Even in May 2016, when Senator Sanders made redistribution a central part of his platform, Gallup found that only 35% of Americans had a positive image of socialism, compared with 60% with a positive view of capitalism. So what this guy is doing, because he's a professional pollster, is disingenuously selecting certain things and ignoring other things. So let me explain something. Number one, yes, most Americans do have a bad reaction to the term socialism. But what's behind socialism? Oh, very popular. Do you know that most Americans now actually want Medicare for all? Do you know that polling, that is, shows that? Do you know most Americans want a wealth tax? Do you know most Americans want the big banks broken up? Do you know most Americans want an end to these endless wars? Do you know most Americans want to end private prisons? This is all polling, and these are all progressive, not center-right or capitalistic viewpoints, but socialistic, progressive issues. Why, if America is such a capitalistic society and such a center-right society, why is one Bernard Sanders the most popular politician in America right now? This guy and the Democratic Party behind him is full of malarkey. Third, it is hypocritical for Democrats to maintain ties to Silicon Valley and then turn their backs on the very people who help finance its work. The financial industry brings to market the world's most innovative products and platforms that expand the economy and create jobs. where do you even start? Where do you start? Where do I start with that? First of all, Silicon Valley, like Democrats, I don't think they should support Silicon Valley to the lengths they do anyway. But Democrats supporting Silicon Valley is not the same thing as Democrats supporting Wall Street. Secondly, Silicon Valley helps innovative products and expands the economy and creates jobs. Yes, maybe in China, maybe in Mexico. Silicon Valley ain't expanding jobs here. Maybe in Silicon Valley, but how many Apple factories are there in America? How many Silicon Valley factories are there in America creating millions and millions of jobs? They are creating millions and millions of jobs in China and Mexico and elsewhere. And I'm a hypocrite too, because I'm on an Apple phone right now. But that's what Apple's doing. No, I did not see Jimmy's video on this. I was in St. Louis. I'm sure Jimmy was spot on about it. So, wait a minute. So we can't. It's hypocritical if they. I'm not saying don't give money to Facebook or other things like that. But last time I checked, Silicon Valley did not take down the global economy and isn't now still screwing people in terms of not giving them credit, in terms of defrauding their investors. So that's a completely apples and oranges and red herring argument. Fourth, demonizing Wall Street does nothing to bridge the widening gaps in our country. Oh, we don't want to bridge the gaps in our country. Wall Street has its flaws, flaws and abuses. This is like, saying like, oh, my husband or wife who hit me, yeah, they have their flaws. They give me black eyes and beat me, but, they make a good pasta rougeole. They make a good, chicken parm. Wall Street has its flaws and abuses, which we addressed in part by the Dodd-Frank financial reform. Newsflash, Dodd-Frank financial reform was a Band-Aid for a gaping wound. It did not do nearly enough. And yes, the American people are certainly hostile to and suspicious of Wall Street, but using this suspicion and hostility as the organizing principle for a major political party will consign Democrats to permanent minority status. As I said earlier in this, they've been using this strategy. They've been funneling money from Wall Street, including today, and they are now a permanent minority status. So what exactly, this guy's living in a fairy tale, that the Democrats have moved away from Wall Street, and that's the reason they are losing is because they moved away from Wall Street. It's the exact opposite. Here's what the Democrats need to do instead. Develop a set of pro-growth, inclusive economic policies. Democratic leaders must prioritize entrepreneurship, small business growth, and the expansion of job training and retraining programs. Ladies and gentlemen, that could have been said by Paul Ryan, that could have been said by Karl Rove, that could have been said by Donald Trump, Mike Pence, name your corrupt Republican. That is Republican talking points from a Democrat. Develop a set of pro-growth, inclusive economic policies. Yes, pro-growth and inclusive for Wall Street executives, pharmaceutical executives, big oil executives, and the like. Oh, don't forget the lobbyists. They're important too. America's leadership in finance will make it possible for our country to invest as much as $1 trillion in infrastructure, extend health care access to every American at an affordable rate, and lift the 76 million Americans who are barely surviving financially into the middle class. American leadership in finance will make all that possible? Well, gee, if that was the case, why didn't I think of that? Let's just cut all taxes for Wall Street. Let's cut all regulation on Wall Street. Let's actually give them more government subsidies, and they'll take everybody out of poverty, and we'll all get Medicare for all. Guys, it was that easy, and we just didn't know it. The Democrats need to partner with the financial community on these issues. Most important, the Democrats have simply had an ineffective, negative, and coercive economic message. Advocacy of a $15 minimum wage and further banking regulation does not constitute a positive, proactive agenda. Yeah, more money in working people in middle-class pockets, that's not positive, that's negative. Negative for who, Mr. Schoen? Negative for your donor friends? negative for your neoliberal Hillbot circle. It's not negative for the working people. The Democrats cannot be the party that supports only new, stifling regulation. Reducing regulation allows banks to employ capital and finance investment in our country's future, making electric cars, renewable energy, and internet connectivity across the globe a reality. By the way, it's a disgrace that the New York Times allowed this idiot to publish this. The Democrats cannot be the party that supports only new, stifling regulations. Reducing regulation allows banks to employ capital and finance. Did this guy sleep through the last 8 years? When we reduced regulations on bank, they defrauded all of their investors. They defrauded you. They screwed up they totally decimated your 401k, your life savings. Also, they could buy another yacht. That's what happens when you deregulate Wall Street. This guy is a fucking idiot. This was evident to Democrats in the 1990s. From 1996 to 2000, for example, Democrats led the way on two key economic legislative victories. First, the Telecommunications Act of 1996 deregulated the communications and cable industries, which brought to you the corrupt corporate media we have right now, and then the Financial Services Modernization Act of 1999, which repealed Glass-Steagall, which was in large part why the financial crash happened. This guy is saying those two were great. Monopolizing the media, so we basically have corporations basically pulling strings on journalists, great. Repealing Glass-Steagall so that commercial banks and investment banks can become one and defraud customers, awesome. Awesome. If the party is going to have any chance of returning to its positions of influence and appeal, Democrats need to work with Wall Street to push policies that create jobs, heal divisions, and stimulate the American economy. Well, I'm going to go vomit. I hope you do the same. But I wanted to read this because, make no mistake about it, if Donald Trump is dangerous, the Republican Party is dangerous. In a lot of ways, they are worse than corrupt Democrats. I think socially, they're way worse. But you cannot defeat corrupt, soulless Republicans with corrupt, soulless Democrats. You cannot do that. And this guy and his ilk, this is how the current Democratic Party thinks, even after losing to a reality TV star buffoon. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.